set the tone of this video, I want you to think of yourself in complete solitude in a darkened room except for the light of candles as you cry to Liebesraum by Franz Liszt. But the truth of the matter is that I can't cry because I'm a psychopath, apparently, and I'm currently sitting on the floor eating chicken nuggets that are shaped like dinosaurs. It is that time of year where I have come out of my coffin and dusted it off. It is officially autumn, so I will be trying to make more interesting content for you all, especially because Liszt has a birthday coming up here in October. I thought it was only fair. We are going to separate this video into a few sections. I will give a brief overview of his life, and then we will go on the Romantic Composer's version of the Eras Tour to describe each important section of his life, ranging from his early childhood as a child prodigy all the way until his death in Beirut. Also, we'll be having some fun random trivia at the end of this, so please stay tuned. Franz Liszt was born the 22nd of October 1811 in Duborian, Kingdom of Hungary, Austrian Empire. He was a prolific Romantic composer, virtuoso pianist, conductor, teacher, arranger, organist, and a representative of the New German School. His compositions were mostly symphonic poems, thematic transformation, and harmony innovations. He was born to musicians and learned piano at 7, began composing at 8, and had his debut concert at 9, which allowed him to become sponsored to study music in Vienna. There was never a virtuoso so famous before Liszt. His skill and, frankly, attractiveness created Listomania, paving the way for today's rock star. A quick timeline. In 1827, he moved to Paris after his father's death. He gave piano and composition lessons from early mornings into the evening to make a living. 1833, Liszt and Countess Marie de Gaulle began a relationship. 1835, Marie left her family to join Liszt in Geneva. Their daughter Blandine was born, and Liszt taught at the Geneva Conservatory. Note that, throughout most of history, artists were considered servants to the wealthy, but during these years, Liszt was one of the individuals that fought for the artists to become a respected part of communities. He argued this point in the Paris Gazette Musicale essay. From there on out, he toured Europe, giving concerts, often for charity. These were the most dazzling years in his career spent as a concert pianist. In the 1860s, in depression, he retreated to the monastery Madonna del Rosario in Rome after losing his children Marie, amongst other downs. He eventually returned to secular living, primarily as a teacher of master classes. In 1881, his health was acceptable until summer. His legs had been swelling, and he fell down the stairs of a hotel in Weimar, immobilizing him for 8 weeks. He developed respiratory and heart disease, as well as a cataract on his left eye. He died at 74 on the 31st of July in 1886 in Beirut, Kingdom of Bavaria. Section 1. The Virtuoso, when hard work pays off. He broke piano strings due to playing with such percussive force and volume. He made dramatic facial expressions and gestures to the point where they were mentioned by critics and drawn in an 1800s news comic. Liszt in his early years was inspired by seeing Niccolò Paganini perform in 1832. He became determined to do this for piano, what Paganini did for violin. Liszt was born to a musically inclined family and received lessons at a young age. By the height of his career, it was said he practiced between 10 to 14 hours daily, including finger exercises while reading. I wonder what he read. However, his early compositions and performances met heavy criticisms, but as we know, his relentless practice and willingness to keep trying allowed him to become extremely successful, regardless of the discouraging reviews. Liszt spent nearly a decade touring Europe, typically 3 to 4 times weekly, which would be over 1,000 concerts in this decade. In this time, you would have seldom, if ever, seen a solo instrumentalist play an entire program for Liszt. There were many times that he could simply not find musicians to book to play with, normalizing the practice of solo concerts. As we know, he also helped normalize turning the piano for the audience to see and performing without sheets, which I don't necessarily agree with when I have to do juries, or when I did do juries, but you know, we love him anyway. Many agree he played his compositions slower than we do today, valuing musicality and technique over speed. But it is important to note that he was still focused on the applause, the dramatic switching from slow to fast tempi, or adding trills and cadenzas in his arrangements of pieces like Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Elvis took after Liszt in the sense that ladies and men alike would tremble or faint upon seeing him. Many doctors believed it was a mental health epidemic, and how we came up with the term listomania. Section 2. The Man. Outside of mesmerizing fame, addictions, and a few brawls, he was known for his outstanding generosity to strangers, family, and his many friends. He opened his doors to people who had nowhere else to go, such as Hector Berlioz, whom he also helped soar to prominence by frequently performing piano transcriptions of Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique. Liszt donated the majority of his wealth to numerous hospitals, schools, causes, at the building of the Cologne Cathedral, and music programs like the Hungarian National School of Music. After the 1842 Great Fire of Hamburg, he held a few concerts and donated all of it to charity. In his youth, Liszt fell in love with one of his students, but her father forbade it. He became so heartbroken and ill that an obituary notice was printed about him in Paris, which is just an OG emo move. I mean, come on, we knew the man was a rock star, right? Another thing, he had always gone back and forth about joining the church, but his mother talked him out of it. In 1860s, Liszt loses two of his children in a short time frame, his 20-year-old son Daniel and 26-year-old daughter Blondine. Luckily, daughter Cosima was all right and survived him, but this loss was his breaking point after many years of traumatic events. He left for the Madonna del Rosario monastery to live a solitary life. He received 4 minor orders, and from then on was called Abbe Liszt. Eventually, he did return to secular living, but a far, far more modest pace. Section 3. The Teacher. He spent many years of his career teaching piano. In early years, he would teach students all across Paris, from the morning until late the night, due to the commute. He eventually began teaching in group settings or master classes, and became known for this method that we still practice to this day. He expected his students to practice technical skills at home. His classes and lessons were focused on bringing life to the piece, such as storytelling through piano and various methods of expression. He was said to have pulled up the chins of his students as they practiced. I think this reinstates his practice of never looking at the piano as he performed. Section 4. Death. Franz Liszt passed in 1886 at 74 to pneumonia complications and a heart attack. He was a year younger than Chopin, but lived 37 years longer. More interestingly, Wagner died 3 years earlier than Liszt and was buried across the street from where Liszt died. What we know of his death was documented by his infatuated pupil, Lena, who tended to him 24/7 and recorded his last 10 days. His daughter Cosima asked him to attend the Bayreuth Festival of 1886, and Cosima's doctor wrongfully overlooked the severity of his condition. Lena was not allowed in and hid behind bushes to observe Liszt. Cosima claimed his last words were Tristan, and Lena claimed they were, "Please continue sleeping." It is hard to know who to believe, given Lena's bias and Cosima's aloofness as well as protectiveness of Wagner. Liszt had taken 4 of the 7 holy orders of the Roman Catholic Church by 1865. He began working on the peculiar Saint Stanislaus in 1874, which he never completed outside of the first and last epics. His journey from handsome, flashy virtuoso to his mildness post-monastery shows in his late works. Wagner overheard a part of Saint Stanislaus when the two were in Vienna and remarked that it was budding insanity. I suggest listening to the many renditions by musicologists to get an idea on how Saint would have sounded. It is certainly out there, even drawing inspiration from Renaissance compositional techniques in some parts, bold even to our desensitized ears. Well, unless you listen to like really weird industrial music like I do. But anyway, I love it. And how beautiful it is that we not only have his death mask, but his living one too, which I will attach somewhere here on the screen. And now we can just get to the fun little parts of trivia. So, here are Liszt's strange dog and pets. Particularly in his younger years, Liszt captivated the ladies so much that they sent requests for a lock of his hair, which I feel like if you did that now, it would be a little more like, are you a psychopath? But at the same time, like, that's totally something I would do, you know? You know. He eventually bought a dog to clip hair from to fulfill their request, so at least he was quite polite about it. Next, in his Weimar home, he had a kitty named Madame Esmeralda and a guard dog named Rappel. Additionally, we know that he was a trendsetter. He seldom, if ever, looked at the piano during concerts. He didn't use sheets when performing, and likely this is one of the forces that popularized this practice. And to answer my own question earlier about what literature that he enjoyed reading as he was practicing, he enjoyed Shakespeare. He also said that he suggested a nice detective read for this purpose. When it comes to Liszt turning the piano when he performed, he said that it was so the audience could see his hands. Well, this is true. It was Jan Ladislav Dussek who first asked the piano to be turned sideways. Why, you may ask, he said, so that the ladies could admire his handsome profile. I truly, truly appreciate you if you stayed to the end of this video. I want to give you a few disclaimers before you head off. I was way too tired to put on my customer service ASMR voice, so I hope you can understand anything I said. Also, once again, I probably offended like at least like 4 countries by mispronouncing things, so cheers, you know.